This video is sponsored by EA. It's Battlefield 6. In the past, I haven't really covered game rumors or news, but now that it's official, I think we should get started. On Thursday, July 31st, the Battlefield 6 multiplayer trailer was released and creators were able to get their hands on the game for the first time. I was fortunate enough to be among these creators and experience the reveal live. Today and over the next few days, I'm going to bring you exclusive content about Battlefield 6, including plenty of epic gameplay footage. I'll share my thoughts about the game with my usual honesty, explain as many features and mechanics currently available, and, as in my style, give you the most detailed map analysis of anyone out there. It's Battlefield 6, people. Let's get rolling. Battlefield 6 is the next game in the Battlefield series, officially launching on October 10th, 2025. I'll have a full review out in the days after the game comes out, so expect far more detail then. Battlefield 6 is set in a fictional modern world in which member states of NATO are splintering off, forming a loose coalition and supporting a powerful independent military called Pax Armada. As such, the major factions thus far are Pax Armada and the remaining NATO states. The visuals are simply the best ever made in the series. I know many people might have competing views on this, but I think it's irrefutable. Textures, depth of field, particle effects, lighting, all of it is simply incredible. I didn't stop to capture any scenic landscapes, I had a war to fight. So hopefully this footage suffices until you get your hands on the beta. Granted, the PC specs we had available were high-end, which included a 40 series graphics card. I will say that the performance is wonderful. Playing on 1440p with pretty much everything on Ultra, the game ran smooth as butter at a sustained 130 FPS. Stutters were almost non-existent. I only crashed once in the almost 8 hours of gameplay. Minimal bugs were present in this build. While things may change over time or vary based on your PC specifications, the game is feeling incredibly optimized and bodes really well for launch. The audio of Battlefield 6 is stunning. Immersive might be the understatement of the decade. It is on track to be as much of a technological leap as Battlefield 3 was when it first launched. While not all the footage here is unmuted, I hope you can get some sense of the audio quality. One slight hiccup to this might be the audio quality of local soldier footsteps, which seemed inconsistent. This isn't too surprising as most Battlefield games have had a similar issue, but hopefully this game can get it ironed out. The main menu of the game was limited, but this makes sense for the build that we had. Many more features, windows, and tiles will likely be available at launch. I personally hope the menu background changes though, because it does give me too much of a 2042 vibe. The options menu has like a bajillion settings, which I love to see. It's also possible that not all settings are even in the game at this point, which is crazy. I will say that the options UI is a mess. Categories had confusing, conflicting, and even redundant options. Some were listed in multiple categories, such as infantry controls or minimap settings. Even more confusing, there were sub-menu categories for certain settings which were difficult to even find. While the amount of options is commendable, I really hope for a cleaner, more organized menu at launch, and a search function would be wonderful. Aside from game settings, the only major feature of the menus was the Loadout tab, where players could customize their class and weapon. Here you could see your class loadouts, change weapons, and gadgets. Diving deeper into each UI box, players could explore all the weapons available, class trainings, and other information. I really disliked this drawer system for the UI, as sometimes left or right click would do the opposite thing on different menu levels, returning you to the previous screen or diving deeper. It was not intuitive at all and felt like a fight to equip and alter weapons, especially in-game when it needs to be done quickly, but unfortunately uses the same system. At the deepest equipment levels, players can find the new attachment system. While previous Battlefield games have had weapon attachments for years, this is the first time in the series that a detailed system is in place, allowing for greater customization. This includes your usual barrels, grips, magazine sizes, sights, and a few others depending on the weapon. Different ammo types are also available, such as one which provides greater bullet penetration. One other ammo type in particular slightly increases headshot damage. I'm personally really against this type as it makes weapons inconsistent and slightly blurs weapon identity, on top of making some weapons stronger than they ought to be. Each attachment has a weight correlating to its attributes. Stronger attachments weigh more. Players can assign any attachments up to a max weight of 100. This should allow some balance to weapon loadouts while maintaining variety, although meta builds will no doubt exist. One thing to note is that the UI for weapon stats has been significantly improved for better clarification. From this attachment menu, you can then access the firing range. This is the fourth Battlefield game to have any sort of gun range after Battlefield 4, Hardline, and 5. It does have an annoying number of limitations, however. You cannot change weapons while inside, instead needing to go back to the menu and reload with a different weapon. Similarly, you also cannot use different equipment from the same class setup, such as grenades, class gadgets, or even a sidearm if testing a primary. There is also no vehicle test range, much to the disappointment of those looking for a Battlefield 4-style playground. Perhaps this is something that will happen at launch or later on. The class system returns in full form in Battlefield 6, although differences exist from previous iterations. Expect a full independent video on this subject down the road. As it existed in our build, Assault, Engineer, Support, and Recon are the four returning class types. Weapons were unrestricted, akin to how 2042 works, though we do have official confirmation that there will be playlists in the beta to lock signature weapon archetypes to their usual classes, LMGs to Support, Snipers to Recon, etc. Classes are much more defined by their gadgets and field specs. Although many class gadgets were available in our build, it seemed like there were plenty missing which will likely come at full release. Proficiencies are also present, similar to how 2042 worked, such as reductions to hipfire penalty on Engineer SMGs. Class gadgets appear to auto-resupply. These are things like the tugs, stim pen, and supply crate, although for some reason the Recon's C4 was also auto-resupplying. I really hope that this is changed later on, as I feel that this self-resupplying goes against the game's fundamental team play aspect of relying on each other to cover the weaknesses of each class. Speaking of which, the support class continues the 2042 tradition of having both medic and ammo supplies, but now simultaneously on the same crate. This will no doubt be heavily debated by the community for a long time, as will the Assault's Weapon Sling gadget, which allows them to carry a second primary weapon as long as it doesn't belong to the signature weapon categories of other classes. Field specs make a return in Battlefield 6 similar to the system found in Battlefield 4 and Hardline. Using predefined tracks available to each class, they provide benefits to certain actions and gadgets. In our build, there was only one track, however in previous lab tests there appear to be two per class. These are distinct enough to make each track feel unique. Squads and individual actions increase these upgrades, culminating in an active ability at Tier 4, such as calling in a temporary UAV for recon. A small UI issue of the main HUD is that the field spec graphic is underwhelming, small, and confusing, making it difficult to tell when an upgrade is hit and what you just unlocked. Speaking of the HUD, the UI is mostly clean and organized, if not slightly cluttered. The pop-up notifications for kills, assists, and rewards is off to the side a bit and not centered, which I'm not a fan of and will take some getting used to. Other critical information is present. The scoreboard is clean and reminiscent of titles prior to 2042. Score is also back to being points-based and cumulative instead of the confusing 2042 methodology. Gunplay is impeccable. In my opinion, it has the potential to be the best in the series. This is something you need to feel for yourself to judge though, as gameplay footage doesn't do it justice. What I will say is that while I thought the time to kill was excellent, the time to death was often blazing fast, such that you had no time to react. This doesn't bother me too much, as it has been similar in previous titles, but it might bother some others. It is also important to remember that the game is still very much a work in progress, so weapon balance is subject to change significantly. First teased and then cut from Battlefield 5, players can now drag and revive downed squad mates. This action occurs simultaneously and seamlessly, providing a very satisfying experience. While other classes can only drag revive squad mates, supports can drag revive anyone on the team and much faster. They really nailed this feature, and I'm sure many players will enjoy it. The support class does also have its revive defibs. In this build, they revive a player at 50 HP almost instantly with no charge. When fully charged, support players can revive up to 3 teammates in super quick succession. First-person animations from melee kills make a much-requested return, and they look beautiful. While the sledgehammer was shown off in the multiplayer reveal trailer, in our build the only melee weapon was the knife. For the first time since Battlefield Hardline, running with your knife out provides a small speed boost. This little nod to Counter-Strike might be minimal, but it's a cool feature which might make the difference in saving a point. Movement of Battlefield 6 has been a controversial topic, but no matter how it was going to be implemented, it was going to be debated in this day and age. From my experience, the movement of Battlefield 6 is currently fantastic. The movement speed is the exact same as it was in Battlefield 3 and 4. Yes, there is a slide, but it's not as strong as it is in Battlefield 5 or 2042. Animations are smooth and feel like Battlefield 5, except you rarely, if ever, get stuck on terrain or objects. It feels modern, fluid, and is exactly what Battlefield needs. Things like FOV tweaks might change how it feels, but I strongly encourage you to try it for yourself and not judge gameplay. Destruction in Battlefield 6 is insane. I don't know how else to explain it. You can blow up so much stuff. Walls, roofs, floors, entire buildings, and it's freaking spectacular. I'm not even going to try to show off too much of it because you just need to see it for yourself. Bottom line, it's exactly what you want from Battlefield. Like all Battlefield games, vehicles are critical to the sandbox experience. Jets, helicopters, and tanks are present. On one map that was played during the reveal event, Liberation Peak, all of these were playable. However, for everything Battlefield 6 does right, and it does a lot right, vehicles right now are not one of them. It's not a matter of vehicle resupply stations and limited ammo, which return from Battlefield 5. Rather, it's the control schemes. Planes feel clunky and have poor responsiveness. Helicopters feel floaty, reminiscent of 2042. Tanks feel like they weigh a ton, which is good, but they can't control or turn worth a damn. They handle like Battlefield 5 heavy tanks, but worse. They are glass cannons, capable of dealing hefty damage at range, but die so quickly to rear damage, which they can't even turn to counter. To me, it's like they belong in a much slower-paced game franchise and not Battlefield. They are one of the few major weak spots of the current build, and hopefully something that is addressed by launch. Multiple game modes are available in Battlefield 6. Announced during the reveal trailer for launch, Conquest, Breakthrough, Rush, King of the Hill, Squad Deathmatch, Team Deathmatch, Domination all return, along with a new mode called Escalation. During the multiplayer reveal event, I played on several of these modes, and most worked extremely well across all maps. Speaking of which, this is a big one for me. If you've watched my channel, you know that I love talking about Battlefield maps, and I cannot wait to get into the finer details with you soon. I was able to play all 4 maps available during the event. From the smallest to largest, these were Iberian Offensive, Empire State, Siege of Cairo, and Liberation Peak. To give somewhat of a comparison, I would consider Liberation Peak to be a medium-scale Battlefield map, but there will be 9 maps total at launch, including a remaster of Operation Firestorm from Battlefield 3 and 4. No doubt there will be large-scale maps with a full suite of vehicles available. While I will cover all of these maps in extreme detail in the coming days, I will say that Battlefield 6 is on track to have the best set of launch maps ever. The textures, locations, atmosphere, layouts, attention to detail, excellent lighting, pathing options, cover, objective design, destruction. All of it combines extremely well to provide some of the best map experiences of the series. I'll be covering these maps in detail soon. In conclusion, and I know this was an extremely brief rundown of everything the game has to offer, Battlefield 6 is incredible, both in its current build from a technology standpoint and as an immersive, epic Battlefield experience. The current performance and stability blows previous titles away, especially at this period before launch, though hopefully it will retain that over the next few months. All they have to do is stick the landing. Is Battlefield 6 perfect? No. Not yet, anyway. Remember that everything shown and discussed here is very much a work in progress, but it's leaps and bounds beyond so many previous entries in the series, and that's only right now. If this event and build was any indication, Battlefield 6 is on track to be one of the best games in franchise history.